Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Versus Stars podcast. All my loyal listeners, thank you for your continued support. And remember, click the subscribe button, everybody. It's an amazing episode because Matt Gomez Hidaka boards the mothership. You know him as Cooper in Silo on Apple Plus. Come on board as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Gomez Hidaka. Thank you so much for coming to Versus Stars podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and talking to you.
It's absolutely my pleasure, sir. Silo is a fantastic show. Me and my wife are addicted to it now, so thank you so much.
That's awesome. That's so awesome to hear.
So, what inspired your love for acting, and who were your earliest influences?
What inspired my love for acting? I think it was a lot of my friends stopped playing pretend with me as a kid, as most kids go through, but I think I just really liked it after I was a little too old for it. And then when I discovered that acting was possible, I got really excited because like, oh, we could like continue to play pretend forever. That sounds so exciting and cool, and that's exactly how I want to live my life. Because if I didn't have an outlet to play pretend in, I would crumble as a human.
That's funny.
I don't really, I can't really remember so much, but I feel like part of it, someone that I kind of remember is Johnny Depp
Mm,
in Pirates of the Caribbean when I was a
yes.
kid. Funny enough, because see, because I'm like this mixed person. No one really looks like me so much on TV, especially when I was a kid. I mean, there were people who looked ambiguous, but Johnny Depp, I thought he was me. Like I thought he, in Pirates of the Caribbean, like he looked brown, and I thought, oh whoa, like that that's like something that like I could do. So I think seeing that helped open my mind to, oh, this is like people like me can do this.
So how did you approach honing your skills as an actor?
As a kid, when my friends stopped playing with me, then I signed up for like little acting classes, little bad plays that my parents would pay for, and I'd go do them. And then I went to this I changed schools. I went to this kind of hippie-ish school, but the cool thing about it was that they had like a mandatory drama program when like the kids do a play every year, and it was Shakespeare, which is
Oh,
really good, but also really bad because I mean, it's good for the students, it's bad for the audience because who wants to listen to fifth graders do Hamlet? I don't know. But yeah, so I did that, really, really loved it. And then I joined a theater company in high school. And that's really when I started to learn what acting was
mm.
and how it was actually a craft. They were so awesome. They helped me with my essays and with my audition materials to get into a conservatory program. And then I went to school at USC in California. I don't want to say that's like the standard way, but I feel like for a lot of people who, especially actors who are young, who are looking for a way to get into acting, I feel like that's like the most.
So when did you realize you were good at acting? Because there's a difference between wanting to do something and realizing you're good at doing that thing.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever realized like, oh, I mean, definitely when I was a kid, I thought I was great, you know? And then, but I think it was more of just, I really enjoyed it. And no one, well, my mom really didn't want me pursuing it, but the director of the theater company that I was a part of, like, he had this big talk with my mom, and he was like, ah, Matt really needs to do this. And that changed my mom's perspective because there's like this adult man who's like working in the theater. But I think a lot of external validation uh helped me realize like, oh, this is something that I could do. But I mean, even today, I'll do things. Oh God, it's so awful. Sometimes I'll just do a take and I'll be like, oh fuck, that was the worst fucking awful. It was so bad. If the director's nice enough, he'll be like, don't worry, that was great. And so a lot of it is just like me being clueless and hoping it's good and just trying to enjoy it.
So I think it kind of mentioned that like you kind of are very like judgmental a little bit of your own work. Does that help you focus more and help you drive yourself to do better at it?
It's helpful to a degree. Sometimes I can just get too picky and in my head where it's just doing nothing and I'm just going in circles and circles and circles, and then it just makes me more anxious and then more, and it's just not helpful. But then other times, because for example, in my at school, we didn't have any, we had some on-camera classes, but the problem with like conservatory is, or most of them, is that a lot of their on-camera classes are just teaching for auditioning, and then the rest is theater, which is like, yeah, that it makes sense, because I think if you're learning how to act, you should probably learn from theater. I wanted to have more experience on camera, so I just pretty much did whatever short films I could get my hands on, just as a learning exercise and to help me learn what it's like to be on camera. So a lot of that stuff is just awful. At least I think so. And I'll watch it, but because I was so hard on myself, I was just watching things, but I just think, oh, well, I'm never doing that again, or entering it that way did not work. And then, I start to kind of build up, not a technique, but a way in to on-camera work, from hating a lot of the things I do, until eventually, I'll watch things now and I'll be like, oh, this is fine. Like, I mean, sometimes I'll watch something and be like, God, I hate that. But it's the best feelings when I'm not cringing over something I
So I think what you said was really interesting, that at the conservatory they teach you how to audition as opposed to teach you kind of like how to act. How is acting for an audition different than acting in a thing?
I just did this tape, and we were doing the scene, and it was a scene that, you could kind of tell by the way it's written that we're supposed to be walking and talking, but you can't do that in a self-tape because you're supposed to stand there, and if you are walking, you can either walk there and then walk back. You can't like just keep going. So part of it is that you're confined to this box, and that's a big difference. Another thing is you're imagining the world when you're acting for an audition, whereas when you're on a set, especially the silo sets were insane. Like they gave you everything you needed to imagine. I mean, of course, there was some blue screen at like the edges and the far back, but everything directly in your view. I didn't have to imagine things. It was so cool. And I think that's the biggest difference. The other big difference is when you're acting with the scene partner for a self-tape or an audition, sometimes they're standing a little further back behind the camera. And especially if it's like an intimate moment where, it would be like really powerful if they're like in your face, that kind of gets lost. Whereas when you're actually filming in the moment, they are there.
So how much are you affected in an audition if the person you're acting against, who's reading with you, isn't actually an actor at all?
God. Yeah, no, that's awful. It's so bad. It's so awful. My sister once, I was in a rush and I was like, I can't find anyone in Miko, just read for me. And so she was, and I remember I sent it to my professor for his notes, and he just ripped it apart because I mean, yeah, some actors are amazing and they can just shoot out a performance with someone who's giving them nothing.
Yeah.
In that time in my life, it was just, I'm not really like that. I think that I do best when I'm like actively responding to a human being. And my sister in that moment, no offense to her, she's not an actor, was not a human being. She was like a girl reading a piece of paper, trying to inflect here and inflect there. So yeah, and I think acting is all of the flow of energy back and forth, and when you can't do that, you lose a lot of things.
Well, now, I mean, obviously you did very well because now you're playing Cooper in Silo, as you mentioned, which, once again, as I said, it's such a great series. I started watching with my wife, and we're watching, and like the first episode, we're like, oh my God, this is fascinating. Those are your main characters, and they're not the main characters. And then the other person's the main character, like, what is happening here? Who's the main character? It was so well done. And so, how did you get involved with Silo?
How did I get involved? Just in pretty standard way. I got an audition. Well, so I graduated into the pandemic. Everything was virtual at this point. Everything was self-taped. So I just got a self-tape, and it was for this project called Mechanical. And the character at that time was named Jenkins, who is actually a character in the book, but then they ended up changing it to a name that I think is more fitting for me. 13-page thing of sides. It was 3 scenes, but a lot of it was a lot of cutouts. And because, in the generator scene specifically, it's a lot of here, and then you cut to there, and then here, and you cut to there. And so they gave me the whole thing. And so I ended up just getting on my computer and just cutting out everything, like all of the extra things and all the extra stage directions. And I condensed it down to, I think, 4 pages. I did that with my friend who was just helping me. And I remember I was in a rush because we were going to see this movie, and we only had like an hour to film it. And for me, that was a small amount because at that time I was like, oh, I need to do a lot of takes, but I was like, I just don't have the time. So I just did it. We sent it in, went to the movies, and then the casting director just set up a callback, and I had my callback with her, and it went well. It's pretty simple. I remember, so it's pretty big that it's not pretty big. There's this thing where a lot of people say you're not supposed to use props or anything in props in callbacks or in any auditions because it's distracting. But I just remember thinking in that moment, whatever, I'm just gonna do what makes me comfortable. Because in those scenes there were props, and I felt, I don't know, I just don't like pretending to hammer something or pretending to like take a drink of nothing. And so yeah, I did whatever I wanted, which was because so many times when I'm auditioning, I think, oh, I have to do what they're looking for. I have to follow the rules. And this was kind of one of the first times where I thought, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And it worked, I guess. And then I got it.
So did you read the books that go with the series, or was that better to keep away from the text?
Oh, yeah. When I booked it, I bought all the books and read them through and then read them again. No, I read the first one over and over, and then the rest just once.
So when you thought about Cooper, what was that first thing that kind of you were able to latch onto that character with? Like, was there a character trait? Was there a dialogue piece? Like, what was it about Cooper that you first were able to go, okay, I got this character?
Oh, that's interesting. I think Cooper as a character is super relatable because he's this kid who is always trying to prove himself, even to himself. He thinks that he can do these things, but can he really? And he's looking for that validation, especially from Juliet. And I think I can relate to that. And that was a way in because I'm a young actor. I can't, especially on set, I was thinking, oh man, like not so much in the beginning, but definitely in the middle, I was beginning to think, oh man, like, am I right for this? Can I do this? No, I gotta do this. I gotta show them that I can do this, which is the exact mindset that Cooper was in. And it was so interesting too, because in the beginning of the process, I was thinking, I can do this. Like, yeah, no problem, which is exactly how Cooper feels in the beginning. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fix this thing. Juliet's not here. And then in the middle, I was losing faith in myself. And then at the end, I thought, I got it. And
does the events in the Silo with the generator, because that scene with the generator and Juliet, and between Juliet and Cooper, were some fantastic scenes. That was intense. Me and my wife were watching like, oh my God, fix the generator for God's sakes. So I mean, it was a great scene. Now, do you think that scene shows that Rebecca trusts Cooper, or was it just desperation that she was using Cooper to help with the generator?
No, I think she believes in Cooper. With the stakes so high, she wouldn't just pick someone because yeah, like she definitely, I mean, he is her shadow. So I think she saw something in Cooper that he might not have totally thought he was ready for. And so I think it's trust. It's trust. And yeah.
And that scene's such a physical scene. So how much of that scene is you and how much is like a stunt person? Because again, that's a very intense, very active scene.
Oh yeah, it was all me.
Oh, you? Very cool.
Yeah. It was cool. Like going up the thing in the harness, that was fun. And I almost fell off at one point. That was a little, I remember everyone was like, oh, but it was, I mean, so it was two separate sets. There's like the generator room, which is ginormous, like just so big. Because there's that room up top, and then where everyone is, there's the control room, there's the main area, and then there's the hallway behind it, and it's all connected so that like a camera could track through everything. It's ginormous. But then the top of the generator is a separate set because they can't actually build that high up. So the actual up top generator that we were filming on was only 10 feet above the ground. So when I almost fell off, it wasn't actually that dangerous, and there's huge mats, but it was fun. I only hurt myself once.
How?
It was so embarrassing. So when we were filming that generator scene, Morton told them, the director was just having me do it over and over and over again. And it was just exhausting. Like you see all the makeup sweat that they cover my head. At one point, the hair makeup girl, Laura, I love her. She stopped applying sweat to me because it was just all my real sweat. And this blade, which actually wasn't that heavy, by the end was the heaviest thing I ever lifted. Like I really couldn't lift it because Morton be like, make it look heavier, make it look heavier. So I'm actually tensing all my muscles. And so by the end, like I have no strength. And so I was just kind of, like I can't keep doing this. I'm so exhausted. And then my leg slipped through one of the blades, and I still kind of have a scar on my shin. And it was just bleeding, but it was fine.
That's awesome. At least it looked genuine, though. When you hurt yourself, you're like, wow, he's really into this. He's a method actor. So, I mean, how do you even approach preparing for a scene like that? Because I assume you can't even practice all that physicality off the set because there's only so many places you're going to be able to go 10 feet up or something like that.
Right. I don't think I really did prepare for this scene. I mean, I read it. I knew where I was in the story. Pretty much all I did was I went into it and I thought whatever happens, happens, and I just have to give it my all as Cooper would. And it was really helpful because Morton is the kind of director who, when he calls action, he's like a kid playing with his toys, and like the coolest way, where when he calls action, he's like so invested in the story, where sometimes he'd be like, and action. Or he'll be like, action. And it's just, and so if you're really like, if you're open and you just take it in those kind of scenes, that was pretty much it. It was just stay open to Morton's crazy energy. And yeah.
I mean, the actors in the show are fantastic too. I mean, you have Common, Rebecca Ferguson, Tim Robbins is in it, Will Patton's in it. What was the experience like on set?
So I only interacted with Rebecca and David in 1 second, but so I didn't really interact with him at all. But Rebecca is awesome. She is just such a generous actor, and when she acts with you, I remember there's this one scene we were doing, and as soon as the director called action, she just sucked me in. It was like her presence just made me totally forget that we were acting. It was like, oh fuck, okay, here we are. Holy shit, we're gonna do this. Oh my god, okay. She's just like that, where she can just like connect with you. And
so as a newer actor, what kind of things can you learn from working alongside someone like Rebecca?
I learned a lot from watching her. I remember sitting at the at playback, not playback, but the monitors during one of her scenes, and just watching. I was watching everyone, but I remember on her specifically, it was so interesting because every take that she did was all in the realm of the situation and the circumstances, but different in very subtle ways. And that was something that I took away, where it was give the editor as much as they can to play with. Really listen, because if you're actually listening, everything you do is just going to be different because nothing is exactly the same. Another one is just, oh, yeah, this one. She, for all the stuff that she had to do, she was so nice to be around. You know, what it was like, Rex is here, and she was so like friendly and goofy with everyone. And that was, there was no ego there. She was just so friendly. And that was something where I thought, man, if I ever got the privilege to be such a big part on something where she was number one on the call sheet. She was working every day in every scene, but she just genuinely gave off the energy that she was loving it, even though she was probably stressed as hell and really frustrated at times. She just really made it a joy for everyone else on set. And I remember, so we had this group chat, and me and Shane, the guy who plays Knox, we were just talking about it, and she was sitting there and she was like, "Oh, you guys are in a group chat?" And we're like, "Yeah." She was like, "Can I be in it?" And we're like, "What? You want to be in our group chat?" And she was like, "Yeah, like sometimes you feel excluded because you're number one or whatever, and you don't get to feel a part of these things because people assume you don't want to be." And that was the moment where me and Shane were like, wow, Rebecca is just such a, this sounds so stupid, but she's such a human, like she's such just a normal person, where we thought that, oh, this woman is probably going to have like this huge ego. She's not going to really want to talk to us, but she was just, she's great. I love her.
That's awesome. And honestly, Silo is proven to be a big hit. So how's the SS impacted you so far?
I mean, I just think it's cool to be able to watch it and think, wow, I did that. That's awesome. But I don't really know if it's really altered that much in my life. I mean, it's so new. I feel like the show right now is kind of on the verge of being popular, but it hasn't quite like broken through into the zeitgeist where people are like, oh my God. I mean, it's hard for me to tell because when I'm online and stuff, it's me actively looking for things. So I'm not really sure if these things are, if it is as popular as it seems to me because I'm looking for it, or if it just happens to be that way.
One positive is that it already has some chat rooms in Facebook. So I mean that's always a positive when you start getting people following following the show a little bit, which is fantastic. So obviously series one is not obviously season one is not over quite yet. Are we can see any more of Cooper?
I mean, technically he's in the last episode. Okay. Technically, but he's new. No. Right. I don't know if he's not really in it. I'm credited for it, but because technically I was in a scene, but I'm not shown. So
I mean, do we know if it's renewed for season 2 yet?
Yeah, that just came out on last Wednesday, that it's officially renewed and season 2 is happening.
Are you officially coming back?
I am.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So anything you can tell us about what to look forward to with the future of Cooper?
No.
Is there anything about Cooper you would like to see explored more?
I mean, yes, there's so many things I would like to see explored, but the writers are so good that there's not really anything that I say right now, they'd probably do better. So
That's fantastic. So, what do we know? When are you able to say when are you going to start filming season 2?
I don't know if I am allowed to say that.
All right, that's fine. If when you are you going to come back on the show and talk about it?
For sure.
That's
For
awesome.
sure.
Matt, it's been an absolute honor to speak with you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for talking.